Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today we have Neil Rogers with us, who is going to share his insights, and I cannot wait to get to know him as our honored guest for this week's episode. So Neil, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? How did you get started? And what is your mission?
So I am Neil Rogers. I am I'm born outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and about 6 miles outside, in a family of 8. I was the 7th of 8. I went to spend a lot of time in the bar business, and from there I got into sales for the last 37 years or so. And I am married. I have 3 children, 3 grown children. They're all gone. All doing well.
You have your freedom back.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. One of them, we have one that's special needs, which we may touch upon today.
So how did you transition from the bar business to sales? How did that happen?
Well, it was, I started out of high school. I was really kind of rudderless, didn't really have a where I was going, a plan. It's not like it is today where we've got our children's life planned out from DNA right up until at least when they go off to college, if not longer. And I went to my mother in my May of my senior year, and I said, "Hey, is there something I should be doing next year?" I mean, that's literally how rudderless I was. So I did go off and tried the college thing and kind of took a swing and a miss, and I did okay, but kind of lost interest and kind of fizzled out. But all the while, I stayed in the hospitality business. And so the hospitality business started, back of the house stuff. And then I got out front as a bar back. And then I was looking at the bartenders and thought that looked kind of cool. That was the whole criteria for wanting to be a bartender, is that it looked cool.
My husband actually used to bartend, and he tells me how much fun he had doing it. And it's similar stories. Just they're having fun. And makes good money.
Yeah. So, but I knew it wasn't going to be my life's work. And well, at least I had an inkling. I thought maybe I would go into hotel restaurant management, but I went back to school for that and took another swing and a miss. And let's just say I lacked focus. We'll leave it at that. And so, so I kept bartending, but I knew I wanted to do more. And people would remark to me, Neil, with your interpersonal skills, I think you'd be great in sales. Huh. Okay, that sounds interesting. So now I start talking to people about their sales career and what they do and how much fun they have and how they have autonomy and the money that they made and all that. So I was like, oh, okay. This may be a path for me. And I had already learned as a bartender that I like to serve people. I enjoyed that immediate feedback of understanding what somebody's looking for and fulfilling that need. So I set my sights back to go to school. Here we go. Third time's the charm. And so I actually did very well at school once I had a focus and a mission and a vision, and I put together a process, or in today's parlance, an algorithm. Things like showing up, taking notes, actively listening, looking for help if you need it, going to the office hours, doing the extra work, all those things that are also akin to being what? A good salesperson, right?
Yes. Now, question for you, as far as schooling, because I know a lot of our listeners also, they want to be entrepreneurs, or they are entrepreneurs or newer entrepreneurs. And sometimes now there is that message that you don't need to go to school. But I have a question for you. So you tried it 3 times. Would you say the first 2 times you weren't very successful? It was because of lack of want or interest in the fields you were studying? Was it not the right fit? Or do you think it was maybe the timing of your age and those other skills those 5 other skills that you mentioned that made you more successful?
Well, combination of all of that, right? So having the lack of focus, maybe even a more a more propensity to want to go have a good time. Let's leave it at that, right? So we're defocused, and but I didn't really have that purpose. Why am I doing this routines? And I was a little bit of I would call myself, uncoachable a little bit in those days. So, well, you should do this because of that. But wait a second, why would I do that? Why do I need that? So,
Almost like resisting to be coached.
yeah, I mean, it was a problem for me in high school athletics too. There was just something in me back then. I am very coachable now and have been for years. I take guidance from anybody that'll give it to me, and I listen to them and I use it. But so from the from there, once I did get once I did get my purpose and put my algorithm together, my process for being good at it. I mean, it's simple stuff. I mean, show up. Really? It's not hard. And then I started to enjoy it. And I knew that there was an end game there, and that I was going to graduate and I was going to go on and sell something. We weren't certain what that was going to be. But I would not discount the process, the development of my process to learn, to get good at school. I don't recall a lot of what I learned in school. It wasn't like but it was learning how I learned, and learning my little process of success is what really propelled me. So I don't turn my back on education, but I think that people should look long and hard at it and how they're going to finance it. And that's where, I align a lot with, I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of Mike Rowe. And I align with him on Micro Works. Why would you go into $200,000 worth of debt for a liberal arts education? I don't know. And why would,
Yes, if it's not gonna serve you in the right way to help you earn
right.
money. All right. Before we dive more into the work you're doing now, I like to get to know you a little bit. So, and for our listeners as well. So, what is one
Sure.
thing that most people don't know about you?
Well, most people, we've exposed it in the book, but most people don't know that my father and my father's mother and Mark Wahlberg's grandfather were first cousins.
Oh, nice. You
There's a
have
little
some
something.
genes there. That's fun.
Now, yeah. So, what does that mean in my life? Does it change? No. As a matter of fact, my father told me that when he was 81 years old, and I'm saying, Dad, what are you telling me this for now? And a little thing about, I believe you're out in California. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'll give you a little insight into the Irish around Boston. So I
Okay.
said to my brother, I said, hey, why is he telling me this now? Why didn't he tell us 20 years ago? He said, well, you know
Yeah.
what, Neil? Back then, the Irish, they didn't say much. And when they did, nobody was listening. So we don't
How
talk about
funny.
stuff. I don't even know who my relatives are in Ireland. So who knows what type of bad actors those were.
Oh
So
my
that's a little
goodness.
fun thing. And we did get confirmation on it, though. My nephew ran into Mark at a golf course here in Massachusetts. Well, they're in Massachusetts. And ran over to him. Of course, he probably thought he was going to, get starstruck and all that, and ask all sorts of. He said, "No, let me tell you this story." He goes, "Yep, that's my grandfather." So
Oh my
that's all we got.
goodness.
No.
Well, did you guys keep contact or any
Oh
relationship
God,
or?
no. We
Just
have
left it
no,
at that.
no, no. It's no. We don't want to. We don't want to bird dog the Wahlberg. Although interesting, Donnie is very much involved in a program that we use with our autistic son. So him and his wife Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg. As you know, you may know that she had an autistic person as well. I forget if it was a young woman or a man. I can't remember, and so they've been very involved with spearheading this program that we use for my son to communicate with him. It's marvelous.
Oh, wow.
So,
Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience and how it has helped shape you and your family as well? And for our listeners, what advice you would give? Because I know we have a lot of people who kind of hide that aspect of their life, or loved ones who have either special needs or mental illnesses. How would you share your experience and wisdom on that?
well, we attack it just like we do everything else. We dove right in. We got involved on both a charitable end. We created a foundation for special needs education here in our hometown and surrounding towns. It was a purposeful endeavor that we could see, we could have vision, we raised money, we put it back in schools, raised money, put it back in schools, all to support those people on the front line that are taking care of our kids. So if I was to say what worked for us, because I don't want to say you should do anything, but what worked for us was that we took a positive approach to it. Yes, it was devastating early on. It was a challenge for our family, but yet we took a positive approach. We actually, in the foundation that we created, we
And what is the foundation called?
well, it's no longer in existence, but it was called PACE, Parents Assisting Special Education.
Oh, I love that.
And the criteria to be part of the organization is that you could not come into meetings and whine about the schools or what was going on. It was all proactive, positive approach to finding some sort of solution to help in some way educate our kids.
Oh, I love that. That's actually what I always advise. Take action to do something about whatever you don't like currently, instead of just, like you said, whining about it or complaining about it. So I think that's kind of where, yes, we need to vent when people go to support groups and do all of that. But if we want real change, we need to take positive action. And I love that you
Sure.
share that and that worked for your family.
I mean, just to follow on with that. So that the reason why it no longer exists is because when he left the system at 21, nobody wanted to take it over. It was kind of sad. I said we'd stick around, we'd help, but
Yeah.
we've got to focus on what his needs are going further, and for that matter, anybody else. And what we did there was we started the first of its kind intensive needs classroom at a local community college.
Oh, wow. So you graduated with him, the high school
Yes, we did.
process. I love that. I love that a lot.
Exactly.
And I bet that was hard to let go of the foundation that you guys created to do something different. But it's so important to move on as well and be able to see, okay, what's my next steps? What's going to serve me now? You mentioned that it was hard, that it was sad that no one else took it over. Did you hesitate at any point to try to manage both? Because I know a lot of times we also get stuck trying to do too much, or not being able to let go of something.
No, we knew it was time to go, and
Okay.
because we have to. I mean, you have to right your own ship before you can help anybody else. So make sure your ship is sailing straight. And so we could, when we were involved and we were in the schools all the time, we could be. It seemed right. But when he was moving on with a real abyss out there, when you turn 21, there's no roadmap. You really have to figure it out on your own. You got to get Medicaid funded. You got all sorts of stuff. And so if you haven't crossed all those things off when they're younger, you're playing catch up ball, and you're basically unfunded. So we set our sights on keeping him in some sort of school structured environment. And it wasn't without its challenges. I mean, some people was like, well, why would we do that? We don't want to get them, we don't want to congregate them all together. And so it had its challenges. But I will
Of
tell
course,
you,
but just like with anybody and anything, raising any type of children, giving them any type of guidance, because they are also all different learners, different, they need different sort of support. So I think, of course, special needs children is going to need more help, but overall, just even giving the regular average person guidance is challenging. You need to be fully involved.
correct.
Okay, so let's go back to getting to know you a little bit better. I love asking my guests, if you can change one thing in the world with a magic wand, what would it be? And you don't have to think too hard about it, just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Well, it's interesting. You think about I think the core of in our world. That's again, I live here in the United States. I think we need to have, and this is all everybody. I don't want to spook anybody. I'm not getting political, but I will tell you, all of our politicians need to be focused on what's best for the people, and not best for their teams. Their teams being their parties. And that's what I sense there. And that, I think, can be the root of a lot of the problems that we have today, up to and including not doing enough for autistic people, as an example.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation we can have for hours, but
well, I hesitated to go that route. I'm honest, but It was like, it's the first thing that came to my mind. And it's just so germane today, and how things I've been around a long time, and I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of transitions, and never seen anything like this.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, as far as the times, it is kind of weird. I don't know what the right word is, but it is kind of weird times. We have access to so much. We have so much technology. We do have a lot as far as material things. But more than ever, we see people are more unfulfilled, unhappy, and are kind of lost, even though they do have more resources than ever before. Now, what would you say currently, for you, what does a happy and fulfilled life look like to you?
Well, I say it's an everyday thing, right? So, and I take things in when we talk about it in our book, and we quote Napoleon Hill on this. So, from Think and Grow Rich, do small things.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, and he's right over there. His workbook, his book, and everything. 1939. We do well to listen to Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie and Zig Ziglar and these pioneers of the motivational movement, right? But small things greatly. That's Napoleon's one of his credos. So I do things every day that make me incrementally better, and that is I meditate. I'm in transcendental meditation, so I don't want to spook anybody, because I'm not saying everybody needs to do TM in order to do meditation. You can listen to your breath for 5 minutes. I do 20 minutes twice a day. I exercise every day. I watch what I eat. I'm not, it's not like I'm not having fun. But
but you're taking care of your brain and body in order to function at your best.
Yeah, I'm conscious of it. Let's put it in that regard. You'd find me in a yoga studio, or weight training, or on my bike, on my piano, or with a microphone in my hand. So I play music every day. I meditate. I have a gratitude practice. And these have all evolved. I mean, this isn't this doesn't go back 40 years. It certainly goes back a solid 10, some semblance of that. And exercise has always been part of my life, and music in some way, shape, or form has been too. So, but work every day. These days, it's a lot about having conversations like this, promoting what I'm trying to do, promoting my speaking business along with my book. So it's So it's an everyday gig, and you build upon it. Everything I do, I try to do. If everything I attack, I try to put together a 90-day plan on it. And it's part of what we talk about in our little program called positive activity. So this, what I just described to you, is positive activity. And that's our trademark program. And what would also be intertwined there, if I'm doing business development, I'd have my business development steps in there. If I'm trying to right now, I'm also trying to be more flexible. So I'm stretching every day to make sure, even over and above my yoga. So I've got that in a 90-day plan. So I'm just doing those things, chipping away at it every day. I give myself grace. It's a practice, right? It's not a perfect. That's why, you garner from being in the yoga world or the mindful world, and give yourself grace if you miss a day. Pick it back up the next day.
For me, I like to always say anything I'm doing, because sometimes we get programmed or we think we need to do X amount of things, like the meditation, like the exercise. But if at any point one of those things is not causing you happiness, I always say, take a pause and figure out what you're doing. Is that causing you joy or stress? And if you genuinely gave it a fair try, and if it's not causing you happiness, you need to go on and try something else, because there's no point into doing these things that we know are going to we want to make us feel better, but then we're stressed about it, we're unhappy about it. And I think that's where your advice of giving yourself kind of grace and reevaluating comes in.
So we always say that in that 90-day period, plug and play. These are things. So what I tell when we have in our book or in our program, we fully disclose, hey, listen, this is what works for us. Now, one of the things. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. So let's first introduce your book and let's talk about it a little bit. So you wrote a book, Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar. Now, how did that book come about? What inspired you? And can you tell us a little bit about who the right audience, who should pick up this book?
Okay, a lot to unpack there. So you may have to come back and ask me one of those again.
I will.
65. I am 65 on my last birthday. So, it was a COVID project. Something to keep myself from losing my mind.
I love it.
And I was encouraged by a guy. So one of the things I would do, one of the things I also do in my a lot of times that's comes in and out of my little daily routine is some sort of reach out, right? So check in with somebody you haven't heard from. If you know somebody's not feeling well or has gone through some trials and tribulations, check in with them. So we were all going through trials and tribulations during the pandemic. Nobody was having a great time. I haven't met anybody yet, anyways, right? So I would check in with people. And one guy I checked in with, he actually wrote the foreword to the book. His name is Terrence McMahon. Now, Terry was a wildly successful MassMutual general agent. And his success took him to behaviors where he needed life-saving surgery. So he got his life-saving surgery. And when I was speaking to him, that was 18 months from that surgery. And he had just... he talked about how he wrote a book, how he wrote a process on his recovery, how he did all these things, So I knew that I had written a few things. One was about the Full Sail, the first bar I worked at, and then the place where I summered, I had just written something about that. And then because about 4 years previous to that, my daughter was being honored at a chamber event, and they it was like one of those. I don't know if you're involved with the chamber at all, but they've got an award for everything, and there was an award for fastest people to watch under 30. So, and the person who was the keynote speaker at the event was the gentleman who brought Five Guys burgers to New Hampshire. Wow! And I was like, a very cool guy, very nuts and bolts speaker, no big words, my type of guy, right? So he's talking about, did you ever work in hospitality at all, Yegi?
No, not me. No.
Okay. So one of the things that you do is you would have what they call pre-meal. Okay. Pre-meal is pre-game, pre-meal, okay? And you talk about talk about what is out, what the specials are. Is there any, what's the wine for the night, whatever that may be. And then they'll also give you kind of a little bit of a rah-rah speech. Let's have
This
a
was
great
for
night.
sales?
No, this is in the restaurant.
Okay, okay.
Right. So we're in he's talking about, so it's Five Guys Burgers. So it's his operation. And
Okay.
so he would say to them, we're not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake business. He says, we're in the hospitality business.
Huh.
And I looked at my wife, in point of context, my wife and I met when I was a bartender and she was a food waitress at a place called Tia's in Boston. And so I
Nice.
looked at her and I said, I've never left the bar business. I've been bartending on the road for years. And
Wow.
so at that time, over 30 years, because I just recognized that that's what we've been doing. We've
You've
just
been in hospitality and sales.
all along. So I did some research. We did some research on it too. And third chapter is about all about other business and what they did to engage their customers or make it fun or more hospitable, welcoming, whatever that may be. And so that's the third chapter in the book. So I had that piece. So I had like my first couple of chapters are a little mini bio, talks about how I get started in the bar business, much like we talked about today. And then the third chapter is this all business is the hospitality business chapter. And then we
So
get
going
into
back to how we can relate this book to our listeners who are in business or who are entrepreneurs, would this book be geared towards people who just want to improve their sales skills, or it's very specific to hospitality or
oh God,
bartenders?
no, sales skills, sales
Sales.
skills and
Okay.
people
Just
skills.
wanted to clarify that.
And I'll give them one quick aside. One of the biggest compliments I've received on the book, and now you've heard about what we did in the foundation, the Special Needs Foundation and all that. A friend of mine read it, and I saw him this summer. He came to visit us back here. He's actually out in your area. And he said, I really loved your book. And is that how you did the other stuff too? I said, yeah, same process, same stuff. So it's all about it's people skills. It's being nicer. It's saying hello. It's being organized. It's if I had to if I had a revision one, and I will do this in my workbook, it's going to be in there. But it's really about the golden rule. Everything that you do should be about. So if about how you how you want to be treated. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. So that do unto others, right? So the golden rule. So if you're talking about the importance of a proper greeting, well, don't you like to be greeted? Hey, Yegi, how are you? How's your day?
Of course, we all
Everything
like to
going
be
well?
acknowledged.
Yeah.
I think I had learned that skill a long time ago out of college. I wish I could remember the name of this book, but the message of it was basically that we all want to feel heard or loved or talked about or talked to. So one really good skill that I picked up from that and I've been using has been that. So I literally, most of the time people want to talk and talk about themselves because we get joy out of that as well. But if we take a moment, and even if we're in a crowd and we literally just take interest, like you said, greet people, hi, how are you? How was your day? What was your week like? What are you working on now? And we take genuine interest on somebody else. That was like one amazing business and human skill I think I learned from that book, and it has been a game changer for me. So I could totally relate. Okay. You got the book? Possibly. Honestly, that is the book.
Of course
Yes,
it is.
I'm pretty sure that is the book, but I read it such a long time ago. Yes, yes, yes. So for our listeners who are not also watching the video, it's what was the title
So
exactly?
it's called it's by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, so
Again,
that's
one of
the
those
book.
1930s books that is timeless. And we quote him in the first chapter. We talk about the importance of the proper greeting, how to say hello, how to smile, how to act, then how do you then take that relationship to the next level? And that's with actively listening and letting them talk about themselves and what their day's like and what their business is like and all that. And we use a little old adage that we say 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. No,
So would you say your
that's not mine.
book is more of a guideline for somebody who wants to become a great salesperson? And
I hope that, and I'm not going to compare myself to Dale or Napoleon, but I hope, and this is the kind of feedback I'm getting from the people that have read it. I hope it's going to be a reference. I hope it's going to be sitting on their desk, just like Dale's right over there for me, and I have them on Audible. And oh, by the way, I am on Audible too, and so
oh, I can't
and
wait to
Napoleon.
check it out. I
Yeah.
I honestly haven't read your book. I am in like my last stretch of my third pregnancy, so I've been really
Oh
short
wow,
on time trying to fit everything in. So I haven't. I wish I read your book before I was able to interview you, but we could probably do a part two after I read it to talk
love to
about
do
it.
that. Sure.
But
So
I'm
yes,
excited. These are the type of books that I love and help. And like you said, I also am a big believer of continuously working on myself and learning more and from anybody who has things to offer. And a lot of times people have mentors or people that could push them, but more of the time people who want to be successful don't have that. So that's where I found like such comfort in different books in order to guide me and learn something from it. And I have a feeling from all the books you're referencing that I know I read and I loved, I'm gonna love your book. So and I do want to clarify for our listeners. So selling skills is not only for entrepreneurs. If you want to be good at even dating in relationships, you do have to have these skills. And I think it's overlooked. So if we are overall good salespeople, we don't I think it can benefit everybody. Okay, so don't only think you need sales in like running a business. I want to say, and I'm gonna reference back to your previous job of a bartender. Now, what were some surprising things that you linked together between the sales aspect and the bartending? Because again, a lot of times, like if somebody wants to be a hostess or they're doing the restaurant job just as a way to get through school or just for some money, they don't realize that these skills can really benefit them all their lives with any career that they may face. So what did you find, and that's kind of what your book references, all the things, the secrets you learned bartending that apply to sales. What would you find within the bartending that was kind of like an aha moment for you when you were writing the book?
well, when you get to the tips are all things that I interviewed people on that own places, work the bar, work the floor, and you could go with if you're working with the public in any way, shape, or form at a directly at a retail operation, a coffee shop, whatever it may be, right? But they're all, I can't, it's hard to pick one out because they're all intermingled. But if I was to say one thing that I think was one of the greatest lessons I learned from a mentor that in retrospect I saw it used in the restaurant, hospitality business a lot, is dispute resolution. Taking ownership when a business problem arises, or taking ownership when a personal problem arises. What was my role in this? How could I have done better? And if you take that perspective, you sit back for a moment instead of lashing out. Oh, it was the guy who picked it off the truck. It didn't come. The warehouse person didn't know what to do. The customer service person messed
Yeah.
up. Hold on. Did I give them the information right? Was the truck driver overwhelmed that day? Picking
Yeah,
errors
it's
are
the
going to happen.
compassion part of
Yeah,
it too.
right. So, and then the key to that would be to get the resolution for the client without them knowing it. If you can pull that off, you've really won. So they don't need to know about, the the problems in your warehouse or with your customer service person or with whatever. Take some ownership of it, fix it, and be done with it. Because it's never going to look favorably on you. So, what's a great example of that in the bar business? I'll give you one. My buddy Dennis was pouring. A woman came up to the bar and she said, "I'll have a vodka martini, straight up, very dry." Okay.
Okay.
Dennis does what he always does.
Just give him a martini.
Martini
Just
straight
give him
up.
vodka.
Right. Well, she takes a sip out of it. She goes, "It's not dry enough." So Dennis comes over to me. He goes, "This isn't dry. That wasn't dry enough. I have never, ever put a drop of vermouth in a martini."
Wow.
But what does he do? Now, did I? I never did either. I said, "Yeah, why would you?" So anyways, he decided to make it again. He made it right where she could see that he only had the vodka bottle in his hand. He poured the drink, came out perfect, same way as the last time. She took a sip out of it. That's the one. Thanks.
But it's exactly the same. It was her perception.
Exactly the same. So what should he have done? He did exactly what he should. So the restaurant, the bar lost an ounce and a quarter of booze, or probably 2 ounces in a martini. But they didn't lose a customer, and there was no conflict. Nobody was watching a battle, and an argument and all that. Dennis just did the right thing. He made it,
Yeah.
and everything was great.
And that's how you handle the situation. And I think all those, skills really come in handy, not only in our careers, but in life as well. I've come to learn that. Awesome. So we are running a little short on time. So I want to get to your programs because I know a lot of our listeners can also benefit from that. So you, besides the book, you are running a marketing business. Is that correct? Or you have your...
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Can we talk a little bit about all the other things you have to offer?
So yeah, we're in the promotional marketing business, which is the swag business. So we do all the corporate logo stuff. We have been doing that for 27 years. We've been very tops of our game in that business. We've also developed a program called Positive Activity, which I think I mentioned earlier in the call, and that really is the ditty that goes with that. It's the practice of getting your mindset right, so you're in a place of positivity, which leads you to open-minded, divergent thinking, solution providing, creativity. So I'm so sorry to cut you off. And you said this is the program that you use, the system that you use for yourself to be successful. And also, Correct.
Do you use this system for your team in your marketing program? Do you encourage them?
Yes.
That's okay.
Everybody's in the same program.
I love it. All right. So you decided to share that with the world since it's working so well for you and for your business.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, the next part of my career is to teach people what's made us successful in business and in life. So once you've got to that place of creativity, you get real productive. So you have productivity. So when I was talking about in the book, it's chapter 15, I believe, is positive activity, but you can see it at positiveactivity.net. And it's the productivity steps in the book talk about business development, things that we've done over the years for our business development success. And but it could be anything at that point. It could be my music, right? As long as I'm in a place of creative solution providing thought process, which I do. When I go down and practice my music, I want a clear head for music. I don't want to be thinking about what I should be doing up here. I want to think about, what that chord progression I'm going to use, or or the like, or what, So that's the process that we use on life, but business for sure.
All right, so you mentioned that you use a basic approach for the book for readers to be able to navigate through for sales and marketing. Now, is there any strategy or what's the best way a reader can maneuver through your book to get what they need for sales and marketing?
Okay. Soon, probably by the first of the year, we'll have a workbook. But absent of that, what we did was we give you key takeaways. The chapters are in small bites.
Okay.
There's typically a story about the bar business, a story about the uh, business, maybe some steps in there, some outline steps, and then at the end of the chapter we put key takeaways. Here's what we took out of it. You may take something else out of it. Cool, whatever you want to do, and then we leave you a blank page. Take your notes. What's fresh in your mind. So sit there after you've gone through the chapter. Chapters are usually, I think, 10, 12 pages long is all. And it's 13.5 font. So it's big font.
It's easy to read, easy to
easy to read.
follow.
Yes. As a matter of
Awesome.
fact, I always joke, I wrote a book I could read. So,
Honestly, those are the best books I've found, and the ones that have those action steps at the end.
yeah.
As I was going through my journey of transitioning through, I don't know, I don't know what the right word is, but transitioning through being stuck in the 9 to 5 mentality of just trying to find my mold and then trying to break through from that and creating the life that I love. That's what helped inspired me, was read a book, get something out of it, like you said, write a little bit, see what I learned, and then it was weirdly inspiring. Even if my thoughts and everything was all over the place, it was very inspiring to know that I was working towards something. And like I said, I can't get enough of these books. So I'm excited that another great book is going to be out or is out in the market. So I probably want to touch base again and talk about your book after I read it, because it's right up my alley. But since we are running short on time too, for one of our closing topics is because now a lot of people also do want to write a book from everything that they've learned. Can you share your experience about how that process was? So you said it was a COVID project. You started writing, but this was the first book you've ever written, correct?
Correct. I've
So how was
written
that
small short
process?
stories. Well,
Where
first thing
did
I
you
would
start?
suggest everybody to do, and I know I'm here to push my own book, but read or listen to the book On Writing Well. And
On
he talks
writing
about
well?
On Writing Well. Zisner, I forget his, it's on my shelf. I know I have the Audible. Howard Zisner or something like that, but it's On Writing Well. They'll be able to find it from that. And he
Okay.
talks about being concise and to the point, and it's short paragraphs. Don't If you can say it in 10 words, say it in 10. Don't use 15. So that would be my first thing. And then what I would do is I do a big the artist pads, right?
Okay.
Brain dump.
Okay.
Just brain dump. Just stream of consciousness.
So for our listeners who don't know what a brain dump is, how would you describe that?
Anything that comes to your mind in the topic that you're thinking about. So obviously you'd
Do
have
you put a
topic.
timer?
No, I think everything, Ben, we talked about small things greatly. Set yourself up for success. Give yourself 15 minutes, right? Or if you're doing it on a Saturday, or money's made on Saturday mornings. Instead of mowing your lawn, right, right onto your blotter. And then you can
Okay.
take that, and so you can start framing your chapters, your flow of what you want to say, how you want it to flow, and then you start writing, and then anything that comes to mind, and start with an outline, and then fill it in. Don't forget to ask for help. There are plenty of editors out there that can help you smooth over rough spots. If grammar isn't your thing, and all that, it's your message that they want. So it's just be, if it's going to cost. There's costs associated with doing it if you want to do it. I think if you want to do it right.
So doing it right, as in not just writing it and then self-publish, because I've also known people who've just written it doesn't get edited, like they just mainly do everything on their own and they self-publish. I think now those options are super easy and cost effective, but then sometimes you don't get the quality because you don't put that initial investment in to get help, like you said. Now, just for people, even for myself, that I'm curious, how much or roughly for a book for you to actually do it full circle, get the publisher, get it edited, do all of that stuff, how much would you say you roughly would need to invest in a book?
$10,000.
Wow, okay. All right, well, that puts a nice frame on things, and I
Now,
love that you
my second one won't be 10 grand.
because
My
you've
first
learned.
one, because I've learned. And the publishing process is awful.
Really?
It's an awful deal. I
So
think there's
what are the top three things you learned that you would share with other people who want to publish?
well, I think you got to really vet the publisher. And some of them, but they all make you feel like you're gold, like your script is great, and this is really going to do well and whatnot. And then you sign up, and then you start paying them, and it's like, wait a second, I delivered you a fully edited manuscript, and you're taking 4 weeks to get it back to me. I designed my book cover. And it
Oh,
came
I
out pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, our little team, because we're in the art. We have been in, being in the swag business. Not where we're not. It's not foreign to us to be involved in the design process, but not be the
Yeah, but
head
for the
designer.
average person.
So yeah. So I think you'd really have to really do a lot more investigating and do a lot more interviewing. And it's not like I didn't do a lot. I talked to 4 people, and I liked bits and pieces of all of them. This actually happened to be the best value because I received, again, they supposedly edited my manuscript, but they had no comments on it. Nothing is perfect.
Yeah,
Somebody always has comments. They had no
of
comments on my
course.
first cover. But I also got a
That's like a
marketing
red
program.
flag. How can you not have any suggestions?
Well, right. But by that time I was, and by the way, everybody wants money up front. Everybody wants money up
Interesting.
front. Yeah. You're
I
going to have to
didn't
put
know.
some, oh yeah. The whole, the whole, the whole funnel thing online where people, and I don't know if you've ever got caught in one of those vortexes where you're interested in a topic and you drill down and you drill down and you drill down. And then there's this offer, which starts at $1 gazillion. But today it's, 98% off, right? So
Don't
it's
fall for the
classic.
scam.
Oh, it's a classic. No, I fell for none of those. It's the publishing thing I fell for, which
So
in the
be
end,
very careful with who you pick to work with. Even though you may do the due diligence of the basic, like you said, you did the interviewing, you still took your time to research, but even in that case, take extra time and extra effort to make sure that you know who you're working with, that your money spent is going to be very well worth it.
correct, because they're
All
not going to
right.
help you sell it. This is
They're
helping me
not going
sell
to
it.
help you sell it?
No, they
Okay,
have
so
no
they
expertise.
basically are just interested in getting paid to print your books in layman's form.
And if I can figure out how to get onto the, and I'm sure I can somehow, onto the Amazon and Barnes and Noble platform, bye. Never need you ever again. Yeah,
Interesting.
So.
All right. Well, this has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and everything you have to offer. Now, before we close, I like to ask one last question. What are your last words of wisdom for our listeners, and where can they find you?
Get your process down, get your algorithm for success, whatever that may be. You may be able to glean something from the books we spoke about earlier. My book, create your own program. And you can find me on positiveactivity.net. I'm also on LinkedIn And I have also all the social. My son does all the social stuff. I think he actually contacted you as well. So.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you, Neil Rogers, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in and hanging out with us. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.